Greetings, brothers. Welcome to this week's tactics video. We've had a lot of people telling us this week that Dante is not worth it. You should just be taking a jump captain because he's like 45 points cheaper. So I thought this seemed like a perfect opportunity to make a tactics video. So let's dive in and find out just if Dante is worth it in 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000. So thanks so much for being here, and the goals for the video are pretty simple, right? We're going to check if Dante is worth 130 points this week, and probably over the last few streams we've done when we've been doing army list shows. And I've mentioned to people that I'm taking Dante to a GT, and there's been a fair degree of pushback from people on that. They just say we should take a cheaper jump captain. So let's discuss that, and the idea is really to try and get some sort of yes or no answer. So what does Dante give us, right? Like, obviously he's got his pistol, he's got a lot of attacks with his axe, we're getting advance and charge +1, we're getting hit +1, and we're getting at the start of the fight phase a battle shock at -1. So he makes 1 unit hit on 2+, right? I think that's more meaningful probably in Liberator Assault Group, because obviously Angelic Inheritors has some built-in rerolls to hit potentially. So maybe he takes 6 Angry Guard, maybe he makes them hit on 2+. It's pretty good. +1 to charge is pretty much always useful because you don't want to ever be failing your charges. Advance, sometimes, again, possibly more in Liberator Assault Group because you can get advance on charge in Liberator Assault Group. His Battle Shock aura is crazy swingy, right? Like, occasionally it can be game winning, but I would say that's like 10% of the time. Most of the time when you need the Battle Shock to go off, it doesn't go off, and when you don't need it to go off, it does go off, and the net result is you go through multiple games with his Battle Shock aura actually doing nothing. His pistol is very, very swingy, right? Like, it is a D6 damage Melta pistol. Most of the other Melta pistols are D3. But you're only getting 1 shot, and you got to be within 6 inches. So it's like 5% of the time, you know, I guess 16% of the time when you do roll the 6 and get sustained hits, and then you actually successfully wound and they fail. Yes, 5% of the time it is amazing, but it is literally 5% of the time. You can go through 10 games in a row and his pistol will do nothing. But his melee overall is pretty reliable, right? 8 attacks in Angelic Inheritors, 9 attacks in Liberator Assault Group, with lethal hits and good AP. So I think his damage is pretty decent, and one of the reasons that I have been holding on to him probably is just because his axe is very, very powerful. So let's talk about the jump captain. And the reason I guess people really like this jump captain is 85 points versus the 130 points in Dante, so 45 points. That is literally almost half of a unit if we're talking jump intercessors. In fact, that is half a unit of jump intercessors. You get the free stratagem as well with the captain leading, which is very, very useful, right? You can use it on nades, you can use it on rapid ingress, you can use it on armor contempt, you can use it on a charge reroll. Free CP is always meaningful, I feel like. The extra strength also from the charge move will put you up to strength 11 with your Power Fist in Liberator Assault Group, and it'll also make your Sangre Guard, assuming you're leading them, strength 9. So the strength sometimes can be meaningful. More often than not, it isn't massively meaningful. But hey, if you're fighting a lot of new Death Guard, and they're running around like with all these toughness 9 vehicles, then +1 strength and hitting that breakpoint in 9 is actually going to be meaningful. He's 45 points cheaper, and I think that's why people are saying you should just take him over Dante. And obviously he gets solid damage because his strength 9 Power Fist, well, would become strength 11 in Liberator Assault Group, and his relic weapon, if you did want to take that into Liberator Assault Group, it would be strength 8. So he does provide very decent strength as well, and I recommend you should take the relic weapon and the Power Fist. I guess if you're going to take one of the enhancements like Gift of Foresight to do almost guaranteed devastating wounds, then maybe you take that Thunderhammer. And there is like a lot of good enhancements you could put on this guy. Fight First for 25 points, very good. Gift of Foresight, which is a guaranteed save, or a guaranteed hit or wound roll becoming a 6, which when you have Devastating Wound Thunderhammer could be very good. Rage Fueled Warrior, basically makes him almost the same as Dante. I don't take Rage-Fueled Warrior anymore now. It's 35 points. I think it's too expensive. You could get a Scout move on Sangry Guard. You could get Denial of Overwatch. And you could also get him to come back to life. And you could pick any of these, even the overcosted Rage-Fueled Warrior probably, and you would still be cheaper than Dante. So if you get to the end of the list and you've only got like, if you can't fit Dante in, then there are like multiple good options or multiple good ways to run this captain. Let's talk about survivability. And if we take the captain and Dante and we put them together, if we're hitting AP 2 or 3, then there is literally no change in survivability. The extra wound that Dante has over this captain is meaningless in these situations of 2 damage in AP 2 or higher. Against AP 1 and AP 0, sure, Dante is better. But I think overall, it's like, I don't think he's more survivable any meaningful way. I think it's a luxury if you're ever hit on the Sangry Guard with AP 1 and AP 0. It doesn't happen very often at all. I guess in those odd situations, then he is ever so slightly better because he has that 2-up save. But I think that like 90% of the time, when the Sangry Guard die or when their attached character dies, they're saving on their 4-up invuns, right? Like that is just what's happening. And then if you're saving on your 4-up invuns, then there is literally no difference. Unless you're talking about 1 damage weapons, and then I guess he's got like a 10% better survivability. But I would say overall, Dante has no real meaningful survivability bonus over the captain with the jump pack. Usually if you get to that situation, it's kind of a bad deal. The whole squad is dead and he's on his own. And at that point, it's only a matter of time before he dies anyway. If you get some value out of today's video, please do consider subscribing. My name is John. I'm here every week doing Blood Angels content. I really would appreciate it if you would like this video or subscribe if you're new to the channel. Anyway, let's talk about damage output, right? Like if we talk about shooting, right? Is a single plasma pistol that much worse than Dante's Perdition pistol, right? Like, in 10th edition, I often find that these pistols are being shot at transports, monsters, armors, right? So, like, the Plasma and Inferno are often wounding on 5s. I would say that is a very common occurrence, right? So, if you have a single shot from a pistol, wounding on 5s is super unreliable, right? Like, just factor that in against your hit roll, and at best, you have a 27% chance. That's assuming you're hitting on 2s, you're wounding on 5s. You have a 27% chance of, like, hitting and wounding, right? The jump captain would be slightly less, right? Because he doesn't hit on 2. Oh, I'm sure he does actually have a ballistic skill 2. I was thinking that he has a weapon. Yeah, he has ballistic skill 2. Alright, so they are the same there. So, at best, if you're shooting monsters, transports, armor, anything above their strength, so, in Dante's case, it would be like strength, toughness 10 and above. In the plasma pistol, it would be toughness 9 and above. You'd only be wounding on 5. So like, there's no real meaningful calculation I can do here that says the Perdition pistol is a lot better than a plasma pistol, because basically what we're saying is, if you survive 4 turns of the game, you'll have 1 successful wound roll, right? Because you only get 1 shot. Bear in mind, Dante's range has been nerfed from 9 inches to 6 inches, so anytime you are 6.1 away, and it would be quite common to be 6.1 away and be aiming to make a 6-inch charge, then Dante just doesn't get to shoot. Like, if you're familiar with playing units of Sangry Guard, there's always someone in the squad, be it Dante, be it one of the Sangry Guard, whose Melta pistol, I always call them Melta pistols, Infernal pistols or the Perdition pistol, is just not within 6. So it will happen, so like, it's, you know, 27% chance to wound, but you need to be within 6 inches 4 times throughout the game. Like, realistically, that just doesn't really happen. So occasionally, I guess, the captain will get 1 extra shot, maybe even 2 over Dante, just because he has 12 inches of shooting, and he'll be able to shoot at more targets. So, like, in the 1 in 6, you'll get a 6 on your hit, which is 16% of the time with Dante, so you would get D3 sustained hits. And then, realistically, you would still need to make some of those wound rolls, which are very low chance, 33% probably. So I would reckon like 5% of the time, Dante's pistol will actually be quite good, right? Like, I'm talking like 1 in 20 games. You can definitely go to a whole event, a whole tournament, and never see his pistol do anything. You can definitely play for weeks and weeks and weeks. I think I've been playing Dante pretty much exclusively 10th edition. So I think at this point I've probably played him like, I play 1 game a week, so probably in the region of like 70 to 80 games. I think I've seen his pistol do like significant damage twice. So I've said it's like 5%. Maybe it's slightly higher. But yeah, A single shot from a pistol is very rarely ever meaningful. If you want any context for that, just think how useful Death Company pistols were when, like, the squad could take 10 plasmas or 10 infernos, and think how bad they are now when you have 2 plasmas or 2 infernos. Like, they literally do nothing now, right? Like, you either miss or you do wound one time and then they just save it, right? So, like, I don't think there's any meaningful... Like, there's no reason for Dante to be more expensive than the Captain in terms of, like, oh my god, his pistol is a lot better. There's nothing in it. They're unreliable pistols that occasionally do a few points of damage. I feel like they both do the same thing. So let's talk about melee output, because that's where things might be a little bit different, right? So we take our Jump Captain with 6 attacks in Liberator Assault Group. I'm going to assume for this video he's got that Power Fist. We're going to take Dante's 9 attacks. He's going to be in Strength 10 with lethals and more AP. And we put them side by side. And you can actually see Dante is much, much better. I wasn't quite expecting him to be this much better, but he actually is. Like, he just does quite a bit more. I guess those 3 extra attacks combined with the lethal hits, combined with the extra point of AP, means that his damage is actually pretty good. Especially if you go into models with no invuln saves, like Gravis Marines. Like, he is doing 9 damage in 1 round of combat to Gravis Marines. Now, fair enough, some of that will be wasted because Gravis Marines have 3 wounds, and you know, you can't split 2 damage effectively across 3 wounds. Same to the Death Guard Terminators, where he potentially does 5.5 damage against them. With them having like 4 wounds now, he probably actually only kills 1 Terminator, ironically. But his damage output is much, much better. The lethal hits help a lot against something like a Land Fortress. The extra points of AP also really do help against the Land Fortress type enemies. And if we move this on to Angelic Inheritors and we take away, you know, an attack from the Captain and give him those reroll 1s, we take away an attack from Dante and give him those reroll 1s, you actually see even more strength from Dante here. I guess the reroll 1s means potentially reroll more lethals, and reroll 1s with, I guess, strength 8 is meaningful against, like, 3 of these targets are less than strength 8, so that would be 3s to wound, rerolling 1s. I guess that is a high percentage point. So yeah, you can see, again, Dante just does a lot better. What's actually interesting here is Dante actually does more damage into every single type of target here than he did with Liberator Assault Group, right? Like, 6, you know, like, you can just, the only one that's close is the Orcs. All the other ones, it's considerably, most of the time it's like over a whole point of damage higher in Angelic Inheritors. I guess rerolling 1s to hit, rerolling 1s to wound is just very, very useful, right? So Dante is much, much better again than that Captain. I guess the Captain, if you gave him that Thunder Hammer and you give him devastating wounds, things could be slightly more skewed, slightly more favorable to him. And maybe that's a conversation for another day. I haven't been running a whole load of Thunder Hammers, but I guess if you are running Gift of Foresight for 100 points, there could be an argument. But yeah, so I guess Dante, in terms of raw damage output, is much better than a Captain with a Plasma Pistol and Power Fist when you get into melee combat. So, like, if we're trying to talk about, is Dante worth 45 points? And that was kind of my point in this video. And I think it is very common to see people run either like Hand Flamer, Plasma Pistol, and a Power Fist or a Relic Blade. Like, these are combinations that we see probably more often than the Thunder Hammer. I get the Thunder Hammer can be good with the devastating wounds, if not sometimes a little bit quirky. So, if we're trying to lead the unit cheaply and provide more CP usage across the army, then I can totally understand ditching Dante, right? Like, 1 CP reduction, it's 100% reliable, and you can use it very often. If you've got 2 or 3 captains running around the board, there's generally always one that can get advantage of that, so you're generally potentially adding 5 CP to your army list. Usually when we're leading Sanguinary Guard, their damage output is usually often enough to kill things, so we need to, is not often enough to kill things, so we need to use that +1 to wound strat. So that's why the Captain makes a ton of sense here. Like, every time we charge, we can use the +1 to wound strat, we can save our CP, we can do a lot of damage, right? I think both these leaders can be precisioned out of the unit fairly easily. If you were fighting like a Master of Executioner in Khorne, they probably precision out Dante just as easily as they position out the captain. So I think the survivability is very different. You know, there's no bonus for Dante in terms of survivability. I think there's 3 reasons you take Dante, right? He gives a unit +1 to hit, which arguably means you can use your Oath of the Moment somewhere else. He gives you +1 to charge, which I think is always meaningful. And then there's that 16% damage output that he's giving, like, from hitting more often. And it makes them even faster in Liberator Assault Group because you +1 on advance, +1 on charge. The other reason, or the third reason you would take him, is his individual damage, if the whole unit dies, is also much more meaningful than what the captain gives, right? Is that worth 45 points, is the question, right? And in my opinion, probably the way that Games Workshop balance stuff, I would say yes, right? Like, because he's got 9 attacks potentially, because he is strength 10 with lethals potentially, it's just very, very strong, right? I understand why a lot of people are opting not to take him and save the points. If you're in the camp that think that 3 Sangre Guard led by a character in Angelic Inheritors, or 6 Sangre Guard just led by a character to get that extra strength probably in Liberator Assault Group, if you feel like they're all, if your Sangre Guard are already doing the damage you need, and you do not need damage from Dante, then it totally would make sense to just take the cheap captain. You would think as chapter master of an entire chapter he would have some more meaningful rules, but I think it really just comes down to his axe is good, his gun and his battle shock are bad, and his +1 to hit, +1 to advance and charge is also pretty useful, right? So it's like he's got two good things going, and he's got 2 bad things going. I think, like, the amount of points difference there, 45 points, could be the right reason to leave him back on Baal, I've said, because, like, he's a tired old man, and, like, if you're at the end of a list and you have 45 points left, and the question is, am I taking Dante, who's already leading 6 Sangre Guard, the Sangre Guard already going to do a bunch of damage, or would I rather have some free stratagem usage and take those 45 points and put them into a whole other unit of jump intercessors, because you've been left with 45 points? Every time I build a list in 10th edition, I always seem to be left with like a weird number of points, like 40 or 50, and there's not that many things Space Marines can do with 40 or 50 points, unless you just want to throw in enhancements, and sometimes enhancements just don't fit your list. So I think he's expensive because his damage is good and his movement is good, and we know that there's a tax on movement, we know that there's a tax on damage, and he does let you save Oath of Moment for elsewhere on the battlefield. But he's not without his drawbacks. So honestly, I think it's fine if you take either of them. But I think everybody that's saying you should ditch Dante, potentially they are being a little bit harsh, right? Like, he does have a couple of game-winning abilities that are a bit too random, but +1 to movement in advance and charge, especially if you're building Liberator Assault Group and you're using the advance and charge stratagem, that's hella strong. +1 to hit, saving your Oath of Moment elsewhere in the battlefield is also very strong. And then his damage on top of a unit of Sangre Guard is very, very useful. I think in Angelic Inheritors, Dante +3 Sangre Guard give you 20 attacks, and they're all AP3, and they're all 2 damage, and that's like 260 points, which is not too expensive. I mean, it is a bit expensive, but it's not too expensive for the amount of attacks and the amount of AP. So that is this week's tactics video. Thank you so much for watching. If you got to the end of the video, please do consider liking. My name is John. I'm here every week trying to make you a better Blood Angels player, give you all the numbers so you can make the best decisions. I did make a video, a masterclass on how to use Jump Pack Marines. That's a very talked video, or a very talked after subject, and a lot of people really like this video. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. If you want to support me, there are links in the video description for like affiliates, and also there's a link up above to subscribe to Patreon for like the price of a cup of coffee every month. I really do appreciate it. I have a new video coming out tomorrow because I'm away at GT, which is going to be my battle ready painting of Commander Dante. So if you would love to check out that video when it comes out tomorrow, I would appreciate it. Guys, have a great weekend. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment down below. I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks again. We'll see you in the next one. By the blood are we made strong. Peace.